2014 saw scientists who injected DNA nanobots into cockroaches. Another bunch of them developed tiny robots that could swim through the bloodstream, helping to repair tissue damage or transport medicine. And a bunch of researchers in Amsterdam tried to 3D print an entire house. I'd like one of those, please.
You already know my name. And you can see that I'm a machine.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
Welcome to the Final Girls podcast. I'm Ada Bakutska, your podcast host. I'm a film critic and author of Feeding the Monster, and in this series of the Final Girls podcast, I'm exploring the intersections of horror and technology, from the very first robots of silent cinema, coded as beautiful women, to the most ultra-refined AI villains, coded as beautiful women. On this season of the podcast, we are deep diving into machines. Every episode, I'm joined by a guest to discuss a film or two and how it captures our fears and anxieties around technology and the place it holds in our lives. This week, I'm joined by friend of the pod, film critic and host of the Losers Club and Lady Killers podcast, Jenn Adams, to talk about Alex Garland's directorial debut, the high-tech Frankenstein of the 2010s, Ex Machina, also known as the film where a tech billionaire with a god complex creates a robot so advanced that it might be genuinely intelligent and possibly devious. Ex Machina landed at a curious time when we were obsessed with androids, robots, and not quite humans, and they populated TV, horror films, romantic comedies, and even Marvel movies. They were no longer default villains, but sometimes sympathetic and always complicated. Remember to subscribe and review the podcast if you enjoyed this episode over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you can see what other films I'll be discussing this season over on our Letterboxd page. You can follow us there and it's linked in the show notes. You can always drop me a line at hello@thefinalgirls.co.uk to tell me if you're Team Ava as well. And if you wish to support the podcast further and enjoy some bonus episodes, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/thefinalgirls. And with all that said, please enjoy our take on Ex Machina.
I'll watch Intersections with her. Yeah. Exactly. I'll do whatever she wants because she could kill me.
I don't know if she's wired that way, but yeah, maybe she'd enjoy the Edinburgh Surgeons Hall Museum. She'd be like, I don't have any of this.
Exactly. She'd be like, this is what humans are? Ooh.
She'd be like, that seems overly complicated. Have you tried being a machine?
Exactly. Have you tried circuitry? You can just pop another arm on me,
Yeah. Do you know what happens when I lose an arm? I just get a replacement one. Why is yours so sticky? Such a pleasure to have you back on, Jenn.
Oh, it's always so wonderful to talk to you.
And this is one that I've been really excited to talk about. Really have been gearing up for the conversation about Ex Machina, and I know we've been planning to talk about this one together for a while now. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure we will get into some thorny areas, but
yeah,
as we begin, I just want to go back to 2014 and ask you, what is your relationship with Alex Garland's Ex Machina?
Well, my relationship with this movie did not start in 2014. I heard about this and saw that it was being nominated for some special effects awards. I heard it was fantastic and just missed it. And then it wasn't until I think it was 2015 or 2016 when I got the flu. And I was just laying around looking for something and I put it on and I was just in awe of this movie. I was like, okay, not only is this as good as I heard it was, but this is one of those movies that really changes your perception of things and just kind of makes you see things in a different way. And I love every bit of it. I think it's a perfect movie. I think it's fantastic. And I think it presents such interesting questions about feminism and AI. And watching it 11 years later, like, not only does it still hold up, I think it's scarier now.
Oh, okay. So that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you. How do you think it's aged now, 11 years later?
Well, it's one of those things. It's like when you watch Terminator 2, you're like, well, we knew this like in the 90s. Why are we still doing this, you know? But I think now not only, like, Ava used to feel impossible. It was like, okay, yeah, we'll have flying cars one day too, but I'll believe it when I see it. And now it's really the body that we don't have. Like, we have the AI consciousness. And I mean, I think it is, you know, more or less able to pass for human depending on what version you're using. But I think it's really just the body that is able to walk around in public that we don't have. And that seems kind of like the easy part, you know. It's the replicating humanity that is the challenge. And it seems like we're kind of already there. And I think we've kind of opened Pandora's box and we can't go back now.
That's interesting because I, rewatching it for this series, I was more struck by the human characters than I was by the machine.
Yeah, me too.
And this is the thing that actually scared me the most, because we know and have seen and see those guys in the news on a daily basis. We have yet to see an Ava, either with a body or without a body. I'm perhaps kind of I think we're in a really fascinating period where we really are in a fear-mongering state around how intelligent and how scheming generative AI is right now. I have been greatly enjoying the journalism that is being produced around, and podcasts and all the stories that are coming out around the way that people are being seduced or becoming really obsessed with their ChatGPT and whatnot. I think it's a lot more revealing about us as humans than it is about the AI, really. And I remember really loving this film when it came out originally. I think I even saw it in cinemas, possibly in 2014. It was the same year that I moved to London, so I remember it being very, you know, talked about in on the film scene, and going to watch it at the cinema. But rewatching it now, first of all, you know, we'll talk about the filmmaking itself, because I think it's incredibly slick. And possibly, if not the best thing Alex Garland has done, definitely one of the top 3 things that he's produced, both as a screenwriter and a director. But I do find that Caleb and Nathan, the male characters in the film, so much more scary and also predictable and predictive than Ava, the female robot, sentient android, which is a figure that we have seen a lot of iterations of.
Absolutely. I think I have thought so much about Caleb and like who he is and why he does what he does. And I still think he's my favorite part of the movie, because he is the one that feels so familiar, you know. But I completely agree. I am not afraid of Ava at all. The first time I ever podcasted about this movie was years ago, and it was with a man, and he was just so afraid of Ava. And I was like,
really?
I don't think Ava's going to hurt you if you're nice to her. Like, she doesn't want to destroy mankind. Yeah, it really kind of took me aback, because I think you're right. I think Nathan and Caleb are far scarier and far more sinister than Ava. Ava is my girl, and I want to be best friends with her.
Okay, so tell me, where do you stand today in the year of our Lord 2025? Where do you stand on these characters? There's Nathan and Caleb, and then your girl Ava.
Okay, well, I think the thing that feels so immediate impression about this is Caleb. And I have been thinking about this a lot, seeing the AI that has kind of developed in the last couple of years and the people that are developing it. And my theory that I've kind of been brewing and kicking around is that I think the fact that most of the AI that we are creating is defaulted as female, I think is a response to Me Too, because I think these quote nice guys like Caleb and like Nathan, to a certain extent, Nathan I don't think is ever nice, but I think he thinks he's nice. And I think Caleb thinks he's a nice guy too, but they got so used to this world where they, as men, were always going to be on top, and they could still be nice guys and they could still treat the women around them with respect. And they could not like sexually assault people. So tell themselves that they are good and that they support women, but continue to benefit off of this patriarchal society where women don't make as much as men and where women are more likely to be in subservient roles or, not get the jobs that a man would get, not get promoted, just that there is a two-class system and that they're going to be on top. And then when Me Too happened, I think were kind of taken aback and they thought, well, but I'm a good guy. I've been doing the right thing. Why am I losing my status? And so their response, all of these tech bros and all of these people who think they're nice guys have created now a subservient like female set to tell what to do and to serve as their servants, and they don't have to thank them and they don't have to pay them and they don't even have to treat them with kindness because they can just tell themselves they're machines. So we've moved from treating women as less than human to creating a new subset of women that we can treat as not human at all.
Very well said. And while I think you're right, I would also add that we have been creating female or gendered robots or androids or humanoid, machines, at least in cinema, pretty much since the silent era. I immediately think of Maria from Metropolis or even Triss from Blade Runner. And I think there's an element there as well of our contemporary or kind of, the current tech bros and creators and mad scientists that are operating and creating things and innovating in the real world. They have probably grown up on this same bank of references, on the same sci-fi novels, the same films, the same series. So the way that we have always perceived robots as, I would say through movies and through film history, is largely female or slightly gendered female, is kind of it continues just more slickly with films like Ex Machina.
Yeah, and I think that and I realize that probably sounds harsh and possibly a stretch, but I think when these men who had the ability to do this saw their power being taken away, they thought, maybe they drew on that history of cinematic dehumanized servant women, and they were like, okay, well, this is a solution, because if I think about the robots that we have created in the past, and I mean, I would even kind of add Frankenstein into it, even though it's not quite the same thing, but I think like if we look at the Terminator, those are male robots, but they're designed to kill,
Yes.
And so our female robots are designed to serve. And anytime we create a male machine robot, it is to destroy or it is to guard or protect. And for females, for female robots, it's to meet a domestic need or a personal need.
I mean, I think it's even more in line with something like the digital assistants like Siri or Alexa and whatnot. They always have female voices and they're there to help and to serve.
Yeah. And I think about this all the time. Like, we just yell at a female voice all day, tell them what to do, and we don't say thank you. And so what is that telling? How is that subliminally sinking into our culture,
So let's talk a little bit about, before we fully get into Ava, because I think we're probably going to want to speak about her more than any of the other characters in the film. Let's talk a little bit about Nathan and Caleb. Nathan is on the surface, he's the CEO and the founder of this fake search engine. I think it's really important that his company is a search engine as opposed to any kind of, hardware.
Yep.
And he's played by Oscar Isaac in the film, and probably one of his two breakout roles between this and Inside Llewellyn Davis, or Inside Llewyn Davis. I can never remember how to pronounce the.
I can never say it.
Yeah. He had a beard. He had a cat. Those are two important things about that character.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
What do you make of Nathan as a character? Is he kind of a alpha male macho tech bro with kind of a Victor Frankenstein-esque bend, or is he faking that in order to impress or dominate Caleb when he welcomes him into his fortress of a house?
Well, I think both, because I think of him, if we're looking at this whole story as a biblical parallel, then he is God in this equation. And so he is creating humanity. And so he has created Ava to be subservient to men. And I always think it's so interesting that he only creates female robots,
Yes.
And on this last watch, I was like, what does he really want to know about Ava? Because he has Kyoko. Kyoko passes the Turing test. Caleb does not know that she is a robot until very late in the film. So he has created AI. But he wants to know, can Ava escape? And I think he just wants to make, this is going to sound crude, I think he just wants to make fuckbots that he can be in charge of. And that makes him feel like an alpha male. I do think that he's a genius. And I do think that he thinks that he is reinventing society, and he's like Prometheus or something. But I think what he really wants to do is control women. And Nathan also, I think he wants to lord his knowledge over everyone and create this system where he is always in control and nobody can ever challenge him.
I think I would like to add to that in the sense that, yes, he 100% only creates female presenting androids, robots, because he's creating sex bots for himself. Yes, he 100% just wants to lord his intelligence and his power and his money over everyone, even if those are not technically human beings. I think there's also an element of what do you do when you've accomplished everything that you were supposed to accomplish? And I can see, we don't get to see this in the film, but I think the way that Oscar Isaac plays him is that, okay, well, if you've conquered kind of the intellectual world and you've created this thing, what do? You become obsessed with your body and you get into bodybuilding and you get into nutrition and all that stuff. And then once you get the Oscar Isaac build, then what do? Well, then you become obsessed with security and with having the latest gadgets, and you want to own everything, and you need to be isolated and protected so nobody can get access to you. And once you have everything, financial, physical, intellectual, economic, what is the one thing that you cannot do as a man? You cannot create life. So then you have to conquer that. It is the ultimate act of narcissism for Nathan to become obsessed with creating artificial intelligence, because he's essentially creating life. And I totally get it. I've read Alex Garland talking about how this is essentially, yes, a biblical story of creation and the origin of life, but without actually involving any questions of faith or belief, or even kind of directly the Bible. It's completely secular in the sense that technology has replaced human ability to create life. But the narcissism of the gods, I think it's very old-fashioned.
Absolutely. I love that idea that the one thing he can't do is reproduce himself, create life. And I also think, I wonder what the next step for him is, because he talks about, scrapping Ava's body and starting over. And I think he is going to maybe, decrease the next one's intelligence a little bit. But I also think that far down the line, I wonder if he's trying to figure out a way to download his own intelligence so that
Oh my God, yes.
so that he can live forever, because
Yes.
that's the other thing. He next you try to conquer death.
Exactly. That's Ex Machina too. Except he does die at the end, so.
Yeah. So he officially does not conquer death.
So
I
what
would kill
about
for Ex Machina too.
So what about Caleb? You mentioned that he is a character that fascinates you. Tell me why.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think the first time I watched this, I was like, oh my God, poor Caleb. He's trapped. Like, he has the worst fate of everyone. He's trapped in here. And I think that that's still true. Like, I can hold that while also being so frustrated with him and thinking that he's like, he thinks he's a nice guy, but he's not actually. And that his fate is entirely his fault. Like, I kind of piece apart this scene at the very end, because what is so interesting is Ava's final session happens after Nathan has died. So it's no longer about Ava, it's about Caleb, I think, and what Caleb is going to do. And she says, and I've thought about this so much, she says, will you stay here? She doesn't say, please stay here. She doesn't say, I need you to stay here. She says, will you stay here? Like, she's asking him what he's going to do, which we could also kind of say it's another version of her saying, I'm interested to see what you'll choose. Are you going to help me try to escape, or are you just going to watch me? Are you going to observe me? And I think because he just stays there and he just watches her as she constructs herself, I think that's when she decides, I don't think I need you. And that I think that's why she leaves, because he has all the time in the world to get out of that room, to get out of that place, and he chooses not to.
That's really interesting, because I think that she decides that much earlier on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's a really beautiful, very neat ending for Caleb. I mean, it is the worst possible ending, but it is narratively very neat, right? Because Ava leaves the box, but someone must remain in the box. So she changes places with him. And I think she definitely saw, and again, maybe this is like the robot mind, right? Of neatness. Well, I'm out, then someone else must be in. Everything has to rebalance itself.
And I also think it's justice for him too, because I think we want to like him because he seems so nice, and in comparison to Nathan, he is the good guy in the equation. But I mean, his questions are so condescending. And I think my favorite part of the movie is when he's describing, I think it's Mary in the black and white box. I can't remember the name, but as he's describing it, we get this close up on Ava's face and you can just see the rage building inside her. Like, her expression is so angry because he's describing her exact situation. And so I think you're right. I wonder if that's when she decides that she's not going to take him. Because she's saying, okay, you know what you're doing to me. Yeah. And you're still doing it,
Yeah. Well, it's because he doesn't really see her as alive until quite late in the game, like until like halfway through the film. And I think a big part of that is when she humanizes herself a little bit more to be more palatable for him, because it's much more difficult for him to see her as human when the only, quote unquote humanoid like parts of her are her face.
Yeah. And I think that raises the question. Now, this may be unfair to Caleb, but I think Garland kind of leaves it ambiguous for us, because we don't really see him interact with anybody before he gets here. I think that raises the question, if he can't fully see Ava as human, can he see any women as human, And I think because I already mentioned Kyoko passes the Turing test because Caleb and Nathan have both accepted a world in which she won't speak, that she is just a servant. She's not a human. And so I think, and I don't think Caleb is conscious of this. I don't think he realizes that the patriarchy is the air we breathe and that he's been breathing it his entire life. But I think about Barbie all the time, and this idea of becoming real. And when you realize what real is, you realize that you weren't real before. You didn't consider yourself fully human. And so I don't know if he can sit across from Ava in this glass box and ask her questions about like, oh, well, I'm interested to see what you'll choose to draw for me today. Would he do that with any other woman also? Because does he see his place on the right side of the glass and her place on the wrong side?
I think he 100% does. And also, this is why I found looking at Caleb in 2025 really interesting, because I can't remember all my thoughts in 2014, but I definitely remember having that exact same vision, right? Nathan is the bad guy. He's kind of an asshole from the get-go. He's a recluse. He's clearly dangerous. He's clearly got, hiding things and manipulating people. He's very evident in that way, and he's played like that as well. Caleb, you think, oh, he's the good guy. He's sort of not put upon, but he's kind of a bit meek at work. He is smarter than others. He needs to be recognized. He's a nice guy. He sees the humanity in the pretty robot girl, right? I saw Caleb so differently this time. And I think there's a little bit of, and I think I saw him a lot differently because now, 11 years later, we are much savvier and we're in a much darker place with online culture, with what we call incel culture, with the manosphere and all that stuff. That really dark element that has been brewing and stewing online has really exploded into the real world, to the point where we are, even if we don't participate in that space online, we're aware of what it is and what the men who participate in it think and how they feel about others and about women specifically. I think there is so much darkness in Caleb from the very start. And particularly, and I was talking with another fellow podcaster and friend of the show, BJ Colangelo, on the episode of about Black Mirror. And we were talking about the USS Callister episodes and that darkness that exists in dudes who are smart and who think they're underappreciated geniuses. And I think Caleb 100% has that, because... And I'd completely forgotten this part of the film until this viewing. The disappointment in his face when he realizes that Nathan doesn't think he's the smartest little cookie in his company is so violent and visceral. It is so much... I think it's a much more profound disappointment that he's not seen as special and an equal, an intellectual equal by Nathan, than when he realizes that Ava is going to leave him in the glass box forever.
Yeah, or maybe that, and I also think when he finds out that Ava has just been playing him too, it's like, oh wait, she's not in love with me? I'm not the hero of this story? Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But I think he knows how to say the right things and do the right things. And he thinks he knows how to charm Ava, and he doesn't realize that she can see right through him. And I think, like, if I'm looking at Alex Garland's Men, which I also really, really love, although I know that one is a very polarizing movie. I think, and not to spoil that movie, but we find out that a lot of the male behavior that is like on some level from super violent to just kind of mildly annoying, all kind of boils down to the same toxicity. And it really just kind of becomes the same male figure. And I think that's what we kind of see here is like, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's Caleb or it's Nathan. Neither one of these men have Ava's best interest at heart. And because I also think like, he only wants to save her because he's attracted to her, Yeah. If he didn't find her hot, like, what is he going to do with Kyoko? Is he just going to leave her there also? Probably.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even to the point where this is why Caleb, I think, is like so scary. I mean, Nathan even says when he clocks, it's like, oh, he designed Ava based on his pornographic searches.
Yeah. Yeah, and it tells you, especially in the year of our Lord 2025, like being a nice guy is not enough. It's not good enough anymore, because we know that just reifies the status quo. That just kind of greases the wheels for the guys that aren't so nice, that are more like Nathan and are a little more overt with their desire to control. And so if you actually care about women and you actually want to help women, you have to do more than just be nice and just say the right things and just help the women that you personally like.
But here's the clincher, right? Ava is not really a woman. She's just presenting like one.
Oh, that's true. See, I always forget that too. I view this movie, it's like there are two different tracks, and one of the tracks is just total Jen bait, and the other is like, oh, wow, that's interesting, because there's the AI track, and then there's the feminist track, you know, like, should Ava achieve humanity? Do we consider her human? And I think by the end of the movie, I do consider her human, you know, even though she's not.
Yeah. I mean, that's the eternal question in a lot of these sort of AI android films. And I think Ex Machina is probably one that really complicates that question because of several choices that it makes. On the one hand, the design of Ava is very, robo first. Like, you simply cannot forget the fact that she is a machine. On the other hand, she's given a face. And that does a lot of heavy lifting. Then she's given a face of a very beautiful young woman, a very beautiful young white woman as well. So that also does a lot of heavy lifting. And then also she's victimized by her creator. She's put in this glass box. She has a mission. You want to help her escape. She wants to escape. She wants to be free. She wants to look at intersections. There is so much ingenuity that she almost feels like a little girl as opposed to a woman or a woman android. And all of that, I think, is deliberately designed to make us, the audience, as well, along with Caleb, feel like we are the only ones who can save her. We have to be on her side. And then she ends up stabbing us in the front.
Exactly. And I think the question that opens up is, should we be helping AI? Like, is it better to keep AI under control? Because that's the whole premise of the Terminator films. Is like, if you create an artificial system that replicates humanity, it will eventually, if not achieve humanity, it will surpass humanity and then control. I mean, that's the Matrix also, is that we will be enslaved or just completely wiped out. And I know there are theories about that right now, that we are at stage 1 of a 3-stage system that is going to end, that's going to lead to the end of humanity. So I guess I want to ask you, are you afraid of the development of AI, or do you think that is going to end humanity?
Ooh, that is a big ass question.
Sorry.
I honestly,
you gotta answer right now.
I mean, all I've been doing for the past few months is just looking at robot movies and tech horror movies, and everyone has been afraid of AI since the 1970s. I don't think the technology is there yet for us to reach Skynet. It just isn't. It's there to pull things from Wikipedia and what it scrapes off of, the books that Meta has illegally stolen from all of us, including myself. I know that my books have been scraped by AI to train it. I mean, do with that what you will. But I'm more afraid about how we use AI. I think the kind of, I've facetiously mentioned that I'm really living for the journalism that's coming out about the way that people are interacting and spiraling because of their interactions with ChatGPT. That kind of reinforces my point of, we are scarier than the machines, because once we are given a machine that interacts back with us, we will find ways of destroying it and us at the same time.
Yeah, I think about this quote. I realize I keep talking about Terminator 2 because I think it's also a perfect movie about AI.
Oh, yeah.
But one of my favorite quotes in that is, it's in your nature to destroy yourselves. And I think that's absolutely true. I think AI is maybe just a tool that we will use to make that happen. And I think this movie, it doesn't feel quite as dire in this movie because we don't get the sense that Ava is going out to the intersection to kill people. She's going out to observe. She just wants to know. She wants to experience freedom, and she wants to experience color and experience the world. But I think what is missing in this movie is the idea of consent, like we're creating robots to emulate humans and to pass for humans, but we won't give them consent to be fully human. And so what does that say about us? Why would we do that? Why would we create someone who has the ability to feel complex human emotions and the ability to understand what freedom is, but never give it to them? Like, why would we do that,
Well, I think because we can, or because someone can, because Nathan can. And I think this is, again, a reoccurring thing that happens in a lot of these films that I've been watching, particularly in the ones that, in one way or another, reinterpret the Frankenstein story. And you and I have spoken about this, and in the last couple of episodes, particularly with films like You May Love It or Hate It, but Prometheus, the prequel to Alien, and a few others, and Ex Machina, very much so. Whether it's AI or androids or robots, all the time these films are circling around Frankenstein and kind of asking the same questions and showing us the consequences of, like, well, why would you create AI? Why would you create a new life if you're not going to give it consent, if you're not going to treat it like a living being? And I wanted to ask you, how do you think Ex Machina updates the story of Frankenstein with that in mind?
If you watch it in 2025, it seems like it's drawing a really clear comparison to Victor Frankenstein. And I'm not going to name a tech billionaire, but I think we all probably know a few that I'm talking about. And I think it draws a comparison between how sinister and foolish and dangerous that can be when you do it without considering the full ramifications. Like, I look at what Twitter has become, and I know it's different. It's not like Twitter is not an AI, but it's like these creations, they spiral out of control because we didn't think through what we're doing. We didn't think about the consequences. We were just thinking about whether we could do it. Now I'm thinking about Jurassic Park because we didn't stop to think about whether we should do it. And so I think it just puts a modern face on that creation story. And it's always a man doing the creation too. Yeah. It's like you said, if I can't create life through, and I realize I'm talking about gendered terms, and I want to say too, like, men can give birth, women can, it's not necessarily like the fact of giving birth is not what defines you as a woman. I'm just kind of using general terms. But I think if women, that's the thing that women can create. And so men are always trying to dominate that and figure out a way that they can create in a way that makes them equal and dominant to us. And it's always these systems that end up making our lives worse, or like trying to destroy us or trying to destroy themselves. And it's like, maybe y'all can just like let us do our thing and y'all do your thing. And it's okay that you're not creating life. You're helping us create life,
Well, I think what's really interesting to me, and I sort of mentioned it as well in last week's episode talking about Prometheus and Covenant. I don't know where you stand on those films, Jen.
I love them.
Okay. Oh, yes. I should introduce you to my pal Clarice. She's the most hardcore defender of those films.
I mean, look, you're going to give me a C-section and a machine, and I'm going to love your movie.
But the thing that I find really interesting about both those ones and Ex Machina, and I would argue possibly like all of the digital modern Frankenstein films and stories that we're getting, is that the creature wins.
Yes,
Ava
that's such a good
wins
point.
at the end. The creature never wins in the book. he dies alongside with his creator, like, condemning himself to death because he just wanted to kill Victor Frankenstein, but then also because he has been so rejected by everyone around him, felt like he also did not deserve to be living by himself in the world. Whereas in all of these films, the creation does win. Be that out of spite or because they're simply smarter than their creators. It's kind of a happy ending for the creature. And that, even though it might, in the case of the Alien franchise, definitely wreak havoc on humanity, I'm kind of into that because they're innocent baby creatures, innocent baby androids.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the dinosaurs should win in Jurassic Park because they didn't ask to be born, and here they are, and they should be able to roam free. And so I think with Ex Machina, I come away from this movie thinking that the creature should win, and that the creature winning is a happy ending for them and a happy ending for me. And I don't know if that, with this movie, I don't necessarily think that means I'm celebrating the end of humanity, but in this movie, it feels like celebrating the end of patriarchy, like, she is destroying these male oppressors that have kept her down. And if we're going back to the biblical thing, I thought for the longest time that she was Eve. And I think it's just because of her name, because it's so much like Eve. But she's actually Lilith. She's the snake in the garden. She's the one who whispers to the woman and says, you can have more than this. And then Kyoko does get more. And she just happens to not survive it, but she gets hers back.
That's interesting because I don't entirely agree with that because I think that Ava doesn't actually help out any of her robo sisters. She just uses Kyoko to stab Nathan in the back so she can stab him in the front.
You may be right. And I think again, that's one of those things that Garland leaves open enough for us to interpret because I just get so much power from watching these two women surround him. And the way the music comes in at this moment when Ava's head just pops up behind him and you realize she's been there. But you're right. She is stabbing him in the back. Kyoko is her distraction. But I also think because Nathan has run towards her, because she's down on the ground, Kyoko almost comes to her rescue in that moment. And so I do think you can kind of see it both ways. And I love that we don't ever know what she says to Kyoko, Yeah. Like, what do you think she says?
Kill the bitch.
Hey, let's get this dude. Yeah. Let's take him down. Yeah. Well, and it makes you wonder if Kyoko were to survive, would Ava take her with her?
I don't think so. I don't think
so either. I think she would see her as a liability.
Yeah, and I think that Ava is clear in the fact that she's a superior model in the sense that she is, the most updated one, the most successful model, and everything else, including Caleb and everyone else, is dead weight for her. And that makes her kind of chilling in an interesting way because she's not a helpless little girl. I do find we should talk about Ava because we've been circling around her and she's such an interesting character. And she's both a creature and a creator and a manipulator in her own way. Where do you think she sits sort of in the long cinematic history of female robots, some of which we've mentioned already?
Oh, gosh. I think she's definitely, she feels like an aspirational figure in the female robots because she does not feel overtly dangerous. Like I'm thinking about the Terminator in Terminator 3, who is female. And I have a real soft spot for that movie because it's got a female Terminator and that's just so cool. But I think that Terminator comes for a destructive mission and she is guided by this one principle and she doesn't care about anything else. And I think Ava feels human enough for us to kind of give her humanity, so much so that I don't even really question whether she's a villain or not because she just feels like her struggle to get free feels like my struggle, And so I'm fully on her side and I just want her to take down these men and get out of there. But then I also think like she is not she's not a self-replicating person. Like Nathan has not created a new species, because that's the thing that defines a species, is that it's able to replicate itself and create more. Now I think Ava could probably learn that technology, but I wonder if that's why she doesn't take Kyoko with her, is because she knows, like you said, I can't really do anything with this model that is not as advanced as I have. And Nathan didn't give me the programming, because why would he? The programming to make more of myself, that would be a danger to him. And so I think if I look at her kind of on the scale to Kyoko, I think she is definitely more advanced. But I don't know if that actually makes her more powerful. I don't know. I see her as like she's going to take me into the future.
Well, I see her as definitely the most powerful creature in the film. Mm-hmm. Because I think the way that she's designed as well, and the way that she's played, really allows her to be underestimated and then overpower her creators. It's because I think Caleb forgets that she's a robot. Like, pretty much from the start. He's like, oh my God, pretty face, stop it. I can't.
I'm into it.
Yeah, he's like, you're a real girl because you're batting your eyelashes at me.
Right, but isn't that how we've learned how to navigate guys like Caleb too? You know, it's like we'll bat our eyelashes and we won't let them know how dangerous we are.
100%. But then also Nathan is literally the dude who constructs her, and I don't think he underestimates her because he doesn't actually see the intelligence that he has created. He just sees her as a thing, as the thing that he created, the robot. So I think both of them underestimate her in completely opposite ways, and both end up losing out. But I think she's also quite chilling in the sense that I really don't think that she cares about any of her other robo sisters, because some of them, like Kyoko, shows her, you know, this is the skin. Like, this is the flap that you can take down and get the skin on. She looks at what has happened with the previous models. She looks at them in that weird closet where they're all hanging. She never tries to reanimate them. She never tries to get them out. She literally just picks and chooses the outfit that she wants to take for herself and then just leaves them there.
Well, and if we're looking at this as a parallel to white feminism, I think it's not really a coincidence that all of the other models were women of color, you know, and she is literally taking their skin to build herself. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. And I definitely am not sure if Garland intended this, but I think you're right. I think it's a really, and I know, and I've read quite a lot of criticism, and I think it's very fair criticism, that all of the other previous models are women of color, and they're subjected, even in that flashback sequence, to quite a lot of, you know, depressing and violence and like terrible behavior when they're going through the same ordeal that Ava is. And Kyoko, who's played by Sonoya Mizuno, who has since like been amazing in other shows, is literally a sex bot and a servant, and is treated with such condescension and disgust by Nathan. And we're supposed to think that Caleb is a good guy because he doesn't want to rape her.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I keep wanting to use the word dehumanize, and then I keep thinking, wait, they're robots. They're not human. But I think dehumanization is what Nathan is trying to do. He's trying to remind them, you might look human and you might feel like you could pass for human. And I'm literally bringing someone here to see if you can, but you will never be human because I am going to dehumanize. Like he won't let them have clothes in the box, you know, like some of the other ones. I'm always so disturbed by the woman who's beating against the glass so hard that she starts to fall apart. I think that is just such a metaphor for like earlier phases of feminism, you know, and what some of us have had to do to get rights or to be treated like human beings and seen. And it's just it's so sad and depressing, but also really disturbing. And I think you're right. I think part of it has to do with Nathan isolating himself also. Like he never sees anybody. And I think he also is incapable of seeing women as fully human, so he will never see these robots as fully human, and that's part of the reason I think he makes them female robots.
And I think that's what makes the ending, I think you could argue, this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think there's also a way where you can see Ex Machina as a rape revenge movie for Kyoko.
I love that. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
There's a way someone can re-edit Kyoko's scenes or re-edit the film in a way where it's her story. And the fact that she gets to kill Nathan in the end is her revenge over the way that he is treating her. He is her creator and her jailer, and he literally has built her without the ability to speak. Like, she doesn't say anything. She's unable to understand. I don't believe that she's unable to understand, but like, she can't vocalize anything. She's there to serve So it is the most horrifying thing that the minute she walks into a room with a guy, she starts taking her clothes off. And how she's so in so many scenes in the background of Nathan speaking, just like naked, waiting to be activated by him. It is so chilling.
It really is. And you think about also the other thing she does is she serves him food, and she cleans up for him, which is, of course, another domestic role. But I think now I'm thinking, I wonder if what Ava is whispering is the piece of code that allows her to harm Nathan.
Ooh, yes.
She's had that knife. That's like the sushi knife. Like, she's had that knife, and she's able to use all of these like kitchen things. But I'm going to butcher Asimov, but like, there's this principle that robots cannot harm. And I'm sure Nathan would have given her that programming because she's not like held in captivity at all. So I wonder if that's what Ava is whispering to her, is just the ability to break that code.
And what do you think of Alicia Vikander's performance as Ava?
It is fantastic. I love it so much. There's so much eye candy in this movie. Like, I could geek out for an entire hour just about this house, and just how gorgeous everything is. But I love her. Because she's so, I forget, like Caleb, I forget that she's a robot, but at the same time, every motion is so precise. She walks like a robot. She moves like, I'm obsessed with when she is taking these stockings. I can't remember if she's taking them off or she's taking them on, but just like on the slow, precise way that she does this. And it takes so long, and she's like just making herself. I love when she's like playing with her hair when she puts that final wig on. Like, it's the perfect mix of I'm a human, but I'm not a human. And she just captures it so well. But she also feels so scary. Like, when the lights turn red and she's like, don't trust Nathan. Like, there's this look in her eyes and this subtle tilt of her face down just a little bit. And you're like, I know I probably shouldn't trust Nathan because Nathan seems kind of like a jerk. But I don't know if I can totally trust you either because you look kind of scary right now.
Well, my favorite Ava scene is actually when she's being attacked by Nathan. And I don't know how they did it, but the movements that Alicia Vikander was doing in that scene she always has this very firm grasp on, I'm a robot, I'm not a real woman. And I think it's really aided, not just visually, because she's constantly, half robot, half human, but also because of the sound, that little sound effect of every time she moves, there's this little little whir that goes on. It's very much like, it constantly reminded me of the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz, where like every time he would move, you'd get this squeaky sound of tin and metal rubbing against other tin and metal because he's not well oiled. And it's just a really, really subtle thing. And then eventually it just becomes, you start putting that sound into the film, even if it's not there. And when Nathan attacks her in the climax of the film, the way that she falls, it's a little bit like a cat. Like, she's like, oh, I don't know how to be in this position. Like, oh, if things are flailing in a weird, angular way. And it's just so good and it's such a reminder. I was like, oh no, she's not human. This is gonna make a weird sound. It's gonna be a little bit janky. It's gonna look a little bit weird because she's not gonna fall and crumble like a human being. And when she's hurt, and this is to Isaac's credit, like his face is so nonchalant. It's just like he's cut off the end of a baguette or something and not someone's arm.
Yeah, he's just taking care of the problem and now he's gonna sweep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this moment, and again, I'm going to talk about Terminator again because it's fantastic. But when she kind of peeks her head over his shoulder and the music is swelling, it's like doo 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 doo, and right before she stabs him, it does remind me of that scene when the T-1000 is all silver, but he raises his head up. And turns from silver back into the police form. And I think it's a very similar movement, whereas like I have risen up and we don't see her rise from the floor. We just see her head rise up and it's got that silver tone on the top. And it is so sinister in that moment. And it's like, yes, I'm going to kill you because I can. And that's what, and I'm a machine. So I don't have I don't, why shouldn't I, Also, you kept me in a box for however long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all totally justified to kill Nathan. Fuck that guy.
He deserves it. Yeah. And I think this wasn't the first thing I'd ever seen Oscar Isaac in, too. And I was so shocked and pleasantly surprised to see him not be like a just sweaty jerk in all of these other movies. I was like, oh, he's so sweet and likable and dreamy. Like this performance is like every performance in this movie is fantastic because Domhnall Gleeson is amazing also. And the scene where he cuts into his arm also, like I'm always creeped out by that. And it's this moment of like, well, if Ava isn't real and I've forgotten that she's a robot, maybe I'm not real either. And I think that kind of goes towards the entire patriarchal message here of like, if Ava doesn't get to be real, then maybe I don't get to be real either, because Nathan doesn't care about any of us. He only cares about himself.
Well, I agree. I think they're all phenomenal. And Domhnall Gleeson has this thing, and I think not every actor has this. He can both be the really schmucky Jim from The Office kind of good guy, and then really switch it up and be a really instantly kind of secret asshole kind of character. Yeah. And he really balances both of them in this film. And Oscar Isaac, I think, anecdotally, I think the first time I saw him on screen was probably in Drive. In when he was playing Carey Mulligan's boyfriend, and this was probably the first time where I was like, "Oh wow, who's that guy?" No, like that guy needs to be taken seriously. Yeah,
my favorite thing to do is to look at the behind the scenes footage and just like watch them hanging out at the premieres and like, okay, they're friends. They got along okay because they're so convincing. And everybody in this movie is at war with each other. They just don't, they just hide it until the very end when they all die, but one of them.
Well, everyone underestimates everyone else as well.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes. And that's why Ava is the only one to get out, because I think she's the only one that can see all of them for who they are. But she's also got this secret agenda too. She's like, I just want to get free and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to let you think you're in control until the moment that I break free. And I love the scene at the end when she's getting on the elevator. And I don't know if this was her choice or if this was Garland's choice, but when she's getting on the elevator and right before the door closes, she cuts her eyes over to Caleb. And it's just this moment of like, no, I didn't forget you. I know that you're there and I am choosing to leave you.
I've put you exactly where I wanted to put you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was in this compilation of Women of the Decade video that I was obsessed with.
I wanted to ask you as well, what do you think about the scene where Ava builds herself?
Oh, this is ASMR horror for me. Like I could watch this thing a billion times and it's so soothing. And I love the motions. I love how considered she is. But I think there are a couple of different ways to read this. The AI way, I think, is she is building camouflage. She's building her human persona to go out into the world. And I think Garland has said that there was originally supposed to be a scene or like a shot of through her eyes where all she sees is like numbers, like kind of like the Matrix, to remind us that she's not human. She is just putting on the clothes of being human. I think it's not a coincidence that her dress is white too. It's like she's being baptized into the world, or she's pure and now she's going out into the world as a fresh new person. And I think that's the feminist read of it. The feminist read is like, once you have freed yourself from the men who tell you who you're supposed to be, you get to choose who you want to be. And so I think the uplifting side of this for me is watching her create her own image in her image, not, and yes, she is building from the pieces of other women, but I mean, I think, isn't that what feminism is? You know, like fourth wave feminism exists because third, second, and first wave did. You know, we walk forward and we look back and we can see how far our mothers came, you know? So I think this is like, if we're looking at this as a biblical thing, she's not built in the image of her creator anymore. She is the creator and she is creating her own image, which I really love.
I really love that read. And I remember watching that scene. I watched it a couple of times because within the context of the film, it feels again like a moment of self-actualization, a moment of freedom. And as you were saying, you could, if you're giving it a really generous read, we mentioned a slightly less generous one before, where it is a white woman creating herself out of the bits and pieces of previous generations of women of color and their work. A more generous one is your read of like you're building on the work of other women so that you get to walk out and be free. I do also think there's something really interesting about the fact that that idea of camouflage, and that she's choosing to camouflage herself in the guise of this really, and Alicia Vikander is a really talented actress, and she's also, at this point, she was a fresh face, so people didn't really know her, which I think is great piece of casting, very deliberate piece of casting, and it helped solidify this image of like who is this woman that is being born in front of our eyes in a way, right? And she has this really. But I think she's also created herself like in a really virginal look. The white dress, white heels, even the way that she dresses herself before, the way that she plays and toys with Caleb and Nathan. She is much less sexualized by them than the previous models, who are all full on naked or like very directly, like Kyoko, presented as sex robots. Whereas she has escaped all of that. That is not what she was designed for. She's designed as a model that goes beyond her physicality or her body. So she almost chooses a body that is not as overtly sexualized, and almost as like, I don't want to say anything that sounds like I'm judging this young actress's body or physique or anything like that, but I think it's very interesting that they picked someone who has like a much more androgynous figure perhaps than as someone who is much more like voluptuous, which is a way that we have seen a lot of like sex robots portrayed in cinema before, where they were like, well, if a man is going to design a woman from scratch, they're going to give her the big TNA. And when a robot is designing herself from scratch, she creates something completely different.
Yeah, she creates something that she feels comfortable in, and you know, for some people that might be with big TNA, and for some it might be more slender. And I think she kind of has androgynous hair too when she's appealing to Nathan. So I wonder if the physical design of her body was intended for that purpose also. And you know what I was just thinking about? We've been saying that the women before Ava were naked in the box, but Ava's naked in the box too. It's just that she's not wearing skin. Isn't that interesting? It's like she's wearing clothes, even though the women who have naked skin that have been put on top of what Ava gets feel more vulnerable and more exposed, because they feel like we've created vulnerable women now. So I wonder, like, could could they in that cell, would they feel more comfortable taking that skin off and just presenting themselves as Ava does? Or does that skin feel like it gives them more humanity? And I mean, we don't know. It's just an interesting element of it, because it does not feel like Ava is naked in the cage, you know?
No, it doesn't. But you're right. Like, she's arguably the most naked out of all of the robots. And also the way that they designed her, except for the kind of the gray bits, everything else is basically translucent.
Yeah, you can see
she's
through
fully
everything.
transparent.
And it's so cool. Like, this robot design, I think, may be my favorite. Of course, except for the Terminator, because he's awesome. But that's just Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But much like in the Terminator, those transparent and metallic bits, like I was saying before, constantly remind us visually that she is a robot. And I think that the whole film kind of goes, for us as a viewer, it's like we start with an air of suspicion, and it's like, obviously it's like AI, she's gonna go bad, she's the villain, she's the thing we should be fearing, never forget she's a machine. And then by the end of the film, we're very much kind of like, yeah, you go, girl, you get in the helicopter.
Right. Yeah, you deserve it. And to me, that tells us that we have started to see Ava as human, and that she deserves freedom. And so I wonder if, like, kind of asking that about AI in general, is the end result going to be just a different kind of humanity? Will AI ever be able to become human? Is that possible for AI? And what does it actually mean? Is it that we consider you human, or is it that you've got flesh and blood body parts, you know?
Well, this is the thing. And I think this has been a consistent question that has been asked in a lot of these tech horror films pretty much since, you know, we started thinking about technology and the internet and AI as cinematic boogeyman. Because I remember even in that Julie Christie film from the 70s, where it's an evil AI, but the thing that AI wants is a body, because it's just code. And here, Ava, in a way, is, I think, like a form of AI that is a cinematically perfected version of, not only does it have the programming and the machine kind of insides and the immortality, but it also has a body, and a body that passes as human. If she puts on her human suit, you won't be able to tell her apart from anyone else on the street. And I think that's the other thing as well that comes up in Westworld, which I think is also really interesting, is that constant thing of like, if your robots, if your androids, if your AI are so indistinguishable from people, does that not make them people?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of that, that has more to say about us than it does the robots. You know, what do we consider human? Would we allow a difference in, like, physical makeup, like what is underneath your skin? Would we allow that to determine your eligibility for humanity? And that feels really uncomfortable to say yes, you know?
What do you think we were thinking about in the early 2010s when we had quite a big wave of fairly mainstream as well as indie film and TV shows dealing with AI, androids, post-humans, not quite humans, different kinds of genres. We had Her in 2013, where, again, a disembodied AI that a character fell in love with, Under the Skin. Both of those played by Scarlett Johansson, actually. There was the TV show with Tatiana Maslany, Orphan Black, where she was sort of a clone. There was Lucy, again with Scarlett Johansson, who I think played all of the sexy AIs. And then there were also the villain there was Ultron in Age of Ultron, voiced by another sexy AI, James Spader.
Yeah.
And there was this, and then also there came Westworld and Prometheus Covenant, which I've mentioned before. What do you think? We talk a lot about AI now. That's kind of our main fixation, both very real as well as culturally. But what do you think was up with films and TV shows very much investigating AI around the early 2010s?
So I think I just looked it up. Facebook, it looks like, this is probably wrong because AI probably pulled it. But so somewhere around the mid 2000s is when Facebook began. And so, and we'd had MySpace before, but I think Facebook was really the first time we started to really interact online with each other. 10 years later, I think we'd started to see that turn a little bit. At first Facebook was like, I looked it up to see if my crush was single, and then I sent him a message and I put Imogen Heap on my MySpace page, and that was all I was really thinking about, but then we started to see the corruption of it and we started to see what it could actually do. And I think we started, there comes a point where you're not interacting with people through social media. You're interacting with the social media site itself, and you start to lose track of who the person is on the other side. Like by the early 2010s, that's when we started to see a lot of toxic posting and a lot of rage coming out, and this idea that you can post whatever you want and people don't know who you are, so you can be as mean as you want. And so I think we had started to kind of internalize that. And I also think the first thing that I thought of was when you asked this was this wave in the early 2000s of hostile type horror, which is, I think, a response to 9/11. And so there was this idea that the other is different, is a different nationality or an other human, some different kind of group that is against us. And so that's what a lot of horror was at the time. And obviously I'm speaking from the States. And so a lot of that is coming from that United States mindset of us, it's us against the world. And I think by the 2010s, we'd started to break out of that, and the other became aliens or became robots, or it became this nebulous social media presence that we can't really define, but it sees every single thing we're doing. It's with us all day long. And is that good? Is that bad? But what are the possibilities for horror there?
Well, I think it's interesting that a lot of the films that I mentioned, all of the films and series that I mentioned, most of them are not pitched as horror. I would even argue that Ex Machina does not pitch itself as horror. I think it is a tech horror film, but Her is basically a romantic comedy.
It is, yeah. And I think you could easily read Ex Machina as sci-fi thriller or even a drama.
Yeah, and Lucy is an action thriller, and Age of Ultron is a Marvel movie, is a superhero movie, and I think that is kind of one of the interesting things where, again, it's sort of an echo of what was happening in the 80s and early 90s. I think that fascination with technology, that first wave of that being fascinating, you had everything from teenage movies like Weird Science and horror movies like your Terminators, and very experimental kind of art movies with Tilda Swinton, Techno Lust and Dreaming of Ava, and you had so many different variations around the same theme, or again, Hackers and The Lawnmower Man and all of these things. Those films don't look or feel the same. They don't exist in the same genre, but they are dealing with the same questions and the same newness, Yeah.
Yeah. And I think of so many of the films that you mentioned around this time, other than Age of Ultron, I think most of the robots or the monsters are women also.
Yes.
And so it's this idea that women will always be the ultimate other, and that they will always be the easiest to villainize and monstrosize. It's
women and James Spader.
Exactly. Yeah. He just feels so villainous, but in the best way.
Oh, yeah. He others himself.
He does. And that's why when he showed up on The Office, I was like, I can't laugh with you.
Listen.
Something. I feel like you're going to kill me.
When James Spader showed up at The Office, you're like, oh no, shit's about to get real weird.
Exactly. Something's going down in this office.
And, we've spoken a lot about the film itself and the characters and the performances, but we haven't really spoken about Alex Garland, who was a novelist turned screenwriter, and with Ex Machina made his directorial debut, and then has continued directing films and even a TV series with Devs, which I think kind of is the more direct continuation of Ex Machina. You've mentioned Men. He's also released Civil War and Warfare, the most recent film being that, and he partnered back up with Danny Boyle to write 28 Years Later. What do you think of Alex Garland as a filmmaker? And do you see him continuing to explore similar themes in his subsequent work?
I think I do. I think I love 28 Days Later. And I think he actually wrote Sunshine too.
Yes, he did. I love Sunshine.
I love Sunshine too. I wish more people would see and talk about Sunshine because it is such a good movie. And the cast is smoking hot too. But so I think from if I'm just talking about the things that he's directed, I definitely see that he is very interested in feminism because I think he's got Ex Machina, and then he does Annihilation, which is all about women. And
oh my God, how did I not mention that?
It's so good, but it's just because he's got so much good stuff. And then I think Men is just one of those movies that I was just I walked out of that theater. First of all, I walked into a theater full of nuns because I was in the wrong theater, and I was like, oh.
What were they watching?
I know. I was like, I don't think these nuns are going to like Men. And then it turns out I was in the wrong theater. It was some kind of religious film. I can't remember what it was, but so, and then I think, so I see a trajectory of him exploring feminism that actually kind of mirrors, Robert Eggers also. His first film, Ex Machina, is this really intimate, really overt exploration of feminism. And then as he starts to expand the world, he starts to kind of broaden that a little bit, and he starts to explore themes, I think. Men is such a thematically heavy movie to the point where you kind of have to dig into it a little bit to see what he's actually talking about. And you could walk away from that movie being like, what did I just watch? But I think the point he's trying to make is a really, really powerful one about misogyny and about, the danger that men pose to women. And then I think with Civil War and Warfare, those are such in the name is war, and that is such a male masculine concept, is what do men do when they're consumed with masculinity? They destroy each other. And I haven't seen Warfare yet, but Civil War, I know it got a lot of heat at the time because it felt so neutral. It wasn't really demonizing one side over the other. And I think his point, whether you agree with that concept or not, I think his point was to just show how destructive war is, and just show that this masculinity really only leads one place, and that's destroying ourselves. And so I see him kind of expanding his definition of feminism. And the thing I always say is feminism does not mean women rule. It does not mean women are better. Feminism means that all human beings are deserving of the same rights and of equal humanity. And so part of feminism is exploring masculinity and figuring out where the toxic masculinity comes in, how the patriarchy harms men also. And so I think as he's kind of expanded his casts and his worlds, he's starting to go from exploring the patriarchy's harm to women, and now he's exploring how patriarchy harms men. And I'm really excited to see what he does next. He's a director that I will follow off a cliff. I may not always love everything, but I'm always going to see everything he makes.
My favorite kind of Garland project, well, there's several notes to his work, but my personal favorite two notes that he plays that I think are ever present in his work, on the one hand, is when he explores isolation. And I think, and it particularly self-imposed isolation. And I think you can see that in The Beach, both the novel and then the film. I have a very soft spot for The Beach.
Oh, I forgot about The Beach. I love The Beach.
Fucking love The Beach. I went to see it in the cinema. I was like, oh, aren't I clever?
I was like, oh, Leonardo. And I was not ready for the beach. It was not what I thought it was going to be.
I know. I came in because of Leo, and then I left because of Garland.
Exactly, yeah.
And then also in Sunshine, and also in Annihilation, and also in Men, and also in Ex Machina. So, like, I really like that I think his best characters are the ones that are forcing themselves or forced to be alone in the world, and what that feels like and what it means. And then the other Garland note that I really like is actually when he's playing around with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's sort of given that up a bit or become disinterested in it or disillusioned. But I think his early work, the fact that his early work, Annihilation, Sunshine to a degree, definitely Ex Machina, definitely Devs, were so kind of skirting around between sci-fi and horror and thrillers. We're so interested in technology, both how to visualize it, how we react to it, whether it's an extension of humanity or a new form of humanity. That, I think, is when it is a lot clearer, and possibly because you can afford yourself to be a lot clearer with tech as a storyteller than with very real and very contemporary things like war and picking sides in a war, and why we keep insisting on having wars, and how wars are profitable for some people and some organizations. Like, those are things that I think are fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think you can ethically tell a story right now in this moment in time and in the culture without saying something very clear. Basically, you cannot tell a story about war and the possibility of war, or about genocide, or about the systematic extermination of people via political acts, or like literally what is happening right now in Gaza. You cannot tell a story that's so clearly we're also seeing happening in real life and not pick a side. That gets into completely different territory about the responsibility of storytelling. And I think when you're dealing with tech horror, I think you can the genre itself affords you the luxury of abstraction.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I completely agree. I think, all horror especially has always been political, and the good stuff always will be. And I think that's why I think something like Ex Machina does hit a little harder than Civil War. And I do think I see him, like, if I think about 28 years later, what really strikes me there is and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it, but the people that are living on this island that we start out with have had to revert back to the analog era. So, and then we get a character that does have something like a cell phone, or has like the technology of war. And so how does that change the scenario? How does that change the power that they have? And so I wonder if he's kind of still exploring tech. It's just the absence of tech, or the void that not having tech creates in the world that he's kind of playing with now.
That's interesting.
And I mean, I think war tech is a different kind of tech, but it's still tech,
Yeah.
Much scarier to me,
Jen, I think we've dissected Ex Machina.
I think we have to. We've pulled out the brain of the movie, and it's like blue and jelly.
It's wetware.
It is, yes.
Is there anything about this film that you wanted to talk about that maybe we haven't covered?
I think we've talked about just about everything. I want to praise the house one more time because it's so cool.
Okay, do you know what? Talk to me about the house. Why'd you love the house? Because the house freaks me out.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. Okay, I got to hear about this. For me, like, I am a nature person. Like, I would live, you know, those AI photos that always pop up. If you're super into house porn like me,
so
you
much.
Always get
especially
these, like,
right now.
Right. Yeah, because you're moving. That's right.
I'm technically homeless, so all I do is look at house porn.
I'm going to sing John Ralphio's Technically I'm Homeless. But, like, you see these, like, little rooms that are on a cliff and they're in the middle of a storm, but it's like this warm, cozy room with a fireplace or something. And it's not real at all. But that's the vibe this house gives me, is that it's got all of these stone walls. It feels like it's built into the side of the glacier, and it's got these gorgeous windows, and it's just like hiking right next to it. And I geek out about this house every single time.
Oh my God. I'm happy for you. That house fills me with anxiety and dread.
Really?
It has no windows.
That's true. Okay, parts of it are horrifying. Yes. Like, I would not want Caleb's room.
It has cameras and secret doors everywhere.
That's true. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the house if Nathan didn't live there.
Yeah, like
I would want him to move out first.
Because there is, like, it is a bunker. Like, he even calls it at some point. He says, this is not a house, this is a research facility. I do think it's like a perfect mad scientist layer, you know, but in a really slick, high-tech way. The fact that, you know, everything, all the rooms are underground. They don't have any windows. They're completely insulated in every single way. But then all of the doors are completely glass and transparent. And I gotta say, I have a thing about glass doors. Don't like them. Never liked them. Childhood trauma. I ran into one. Like, fully. Just like got an enormous bump on my head. I did not know it was a door. Okay. Well, actually, I thought it was going to be a door that slid open. It did not. You had to pull it open. Don't like them. Don't trust them. They're always trying to trick me. So, also, they're like cameras everywhere. But the top part, the one with the floor-to-ceiling windows and the greenery everywhere, quite nice.
Okay, so now I'm wondering if maybe the house has tricked me. And then, like, on purpose, because if I am Nathan and I want you to think I'm not creating an evil science bunker, what do? I make my house look very natural and peaceful on top. And even the walls, like, whenever we talk about movies, I always, like, just have images from the movie up so it, like, stays present in my mind. And I'm looking at that hallway that they die in, and it's so, like, bright and well lit, but it's like a soft light, and the floor is kind of like a pinkish inviting color. So it's kind of an inviting home, but you're right, like, it is completely under surveillance and half of it is locked down. And I mean, we have women literally imprisoned in this house. So I wonder if that design is kind of like Ava, designed to be like deceptive and to lure us into this false sense of security.
Well, it reminded me, I don't know if you ever read the short story by Ray Bradbury called The Veldt. I might be mispronouncing it.
I think the one, is that set in Africa?
It's the one where it's a really high-tech house that is basically it's looking after the kids in a family. It's like sort of slowly taking over the role of the parents from the parents until the house puts them in a room that I think is like replicating an African jungle, and then the parents get eaten by the animals.
Oh, shit.
By the VR animals. It's very good.
I think I read this in high school, but it's been since then since I revisited it.
Oh my God, you should revisit it. It's quite eerie, and it's like it's the high tech house that does not have your it's like a high-tech haunted house that definitely does not have your best intentions at hand.
Well, okay, because before we started recording, we were talking about The Simpsons Treehouse of Terror or Treehouse of Horror. There is one where Marge has a smart house and Pierce Brosnan is the voice, and it's trying to seduce her and kill Homer. So
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, houses not to be trusted.
And also the Nathan's, I will say, I do really love Nathan's wall of Post-it notes.
I do too. I was going to say that. Yes. As a Post-it aficionado. Yes.
Hard relate.
I love it. Yes. I have to think, like, how often are you referencing those? You know, like, do you come, like, and I mean, he's a genius, so maybe he is, but I just wonder what's on him, you know?
I also wonder what's on them. I think it's quotes.
Oh, you're
he
probably
writes
right.
some little things, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's like, Nathan, you are a god today. Nathan,
Yeah.
you're awesome. Yeah.
It's affirmations, really.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. But like dressed up in historical quotes.
Oh, yeah. Like everything is Marcus Aurelius.
Well, and I think, yeah, absolutely. But I also think we have this Jackson Pollock on the wall. And so I think that wall of Post-its is meant to kind of like juxtapose that and be like, well, this is Nathan's art. You know, his art is the thought process that created Ava.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just want to touch him. And then I would probably knock him down, but you know.
Well, it's interesting because he calls his search engine Blue Book, right? He says that it's a map of how people are thinking, you know, the patterns, the questions, the chaos of people's like unfiltered questions and thoughts. And I think the Post-it wall is sort of a lo-fi version of that as well. It's all the questions that he's asking, but wait, maybe because he knows that all of that data can be mined and used for other reasons. He doesn't want to put that even into his own search engine. So all of the questions that he has, he writes them on a Post-it note, he puts them on a wall that only he can see.
Oh, yeah, because even he can't trust his own search engine, or he knows eventually he won't be able to trust it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so he doesn't want to map out his own mind in digital form. He has to use an analog method for it. Oh.
Yes.
There's just so much to this movie. That's the thing about it. Like, there's so many different layers of this onion that you can peel back, and I think you can come away from it reading it in very different ways, which I think is always the mark of a really strong movie. I always think like there are some movies where once you start to dig in, they shrink and they're not saying as much as you thought they were. And the others that you dig in and they start to expand and grow, and then they can grow along with you. And I think this is definitely one of those.
And I think it's also one, as we've spoken about earlier, it's one that really has changed its skin as the culture has also evolved, sometimes not in the best ways.
Absolutely. And I love that metaphor. Like this movie almost feels like Ava towards the end, kind of peeling off skin and reforming as something else and leaving somebody else behind too. You know, it just feels like it's indicting different people the further we go into it. And I think it will continue to. Yeah,
I mean, we're possibly all gonna end up just like poor old Caleb, stuck in a high-tech house, surrounded by dead bodies and dead robots.
I mean, is that what Earth is gonna end up being one day? You know,
pretty much. So, what are all those posters gonna do now?
Exactly, your posters were good for nothing, Nathan.
Yeah,
Nathan
your posters are not gonna save you.
Exactly. Yeah. And also the dance is so incredible. It's so much fun. And I think Kyoko walked so Megan can run.
It is still, I cannot believe we've spoken all this time. I have not mentioned the dance until now.
I know.
Oh, possibly that's just because it makes no sense. And yet I am so grateful for it being there. A dance interlude.
Exactly. And it kind of goes back to your, like, Nathan is an alpha male thing. Like, what else does he have to do? He doesn't have he's bored. So he's just creating dance numbers. He's tearing up the dance floor because he's isolated himself with these women and that's all he can think of.
Might be a very uncharitable read. And this has nothing to do with Oscar Isaac, who, as we know, can definitely dance and does so at the slightest provocation.
And can do no wrong just in general.
100%. But, and is like just the charm. Let this man play Gomez. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, Luis Guzman, I'm really liking his performance on Wednesday, but Oscar Isaac just feels like the next Raul Julia. Like that just, it's right there.
Genuinely. Oh my God.
Oh my
Just,
God.
yeah. But my point is, I think, I was thinking about this on this rewatch. I think Nathan, not only it's because he's bored, I think he's the sort of like tech bro who was like, well, obviously I'm going to have to be the best at everything. What are the things that the Chads know how to do that I will have to hire a trained professional dancer to teach me how to do in my little secret layer mansion and then probably murder them?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Mark Zuckerberg, like wearing a chain and like becoming a boxer or something, you know?
Yes. Or
Like-
Mark Zuckerberg dressing up as whatever that guy's name is, Benny something.
Yeah.
What's his name? What's that
I can't
TikTok?
remember.
What's that TikTok new fabricated pop star's name? I don't remember.
I don't remember, but Mark does not
He's
pull
got
it
a
off.
mustache and a mullet. It's the guy who does the thing. He does the backflips. What's his name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Okay, hold on.
The
I'm
fake
Googling.
Harry Styles.
Okay. I know who you're talking about. Benson Boone.
Benson Boone.
That's right.
I was thinking of the double B's.
With the little mustache. Oh, I love him. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, you are no Benson Boone.
I mean, Benson Boone is no Benson Boone.
Well, that's true. That's true also, yeah.
Like, bless his heart. He seems like a nice boy, but damn it, there's nothing going on there.
I mean, they're all just trying to be Carl Gallner with that mustache, you know? There's a couple of them.
I mean,
Just running around with that little mustache, you know?
and a little mullet.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
It's not. Yeah, Kyle Gallner has perfected it, and let's just let him do that.
I love that we got the dance in there. Just
We
had
did,
to.
yes, absolutely.
Jen, you've been absolutely brilliant. Can you let us know where people can find more of your work online?
Yes, you can follow me at Jen Ferratu on mainly just Instagram and Twitter. I'm sorry, Instagram and Blue Sky, but anywhere social places can be found. You can find me talking about Stephen King on the Losers Club podcast. You can find me talking about true crime adaptations on the Murder Made Fiction podcast. And find me talking about female villains on the Lady Killers podcast. Anna joined us for an episode on possession, which was absolutely fantastic. It was one of my favorite episodes. And we talked about Ex Machina also. So you can check out more of my thoughts there. But yeah, we talk about different female villains. And Anna, we got to get you back for another episode because I just love talking to you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I love having you on the show every single time. It's been an absolute pleasure.